called uncustomed goods, goods which have evaded tax. And it can be that you have smuggled your goods, or you have come through the port and somehow you don't pay the duty, or you also pay duty, but it is misdeclared. And you have misdeclared. Like we were in Mombasa about 1 month ago, where we were destroying sugar that had been misdeclared to be spare parts. And you open spare parts. I mean, there were 16 containers which were declared as spare parts. When you open, it's sugar, and it is sugar of Kakira, which is from Uganda, packed in Kakira. I mean, that's counterfeiting because you are using another person's intellectual property to trade. But at the same time, also you have misdeclared, because spare parts don't attract duty; it's zero. But sugar, which has come in, attracts 100% duty. So already the government loses duty 100%. So and then there is undervalued. You may also import a good, but you don't declare the correct value. So it means that duty that will be paid will be lower than it ought to be. So that forms part of illicit trade. And then there is other forms like piracy, dealing with the trafficking and others.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think I leave now to my maybe.
Absolutely, very good insight. Very, very good. Now we go to PS Betty. Also make it as brief as possible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and honorable members. And thank you for the invitation to appear before this committee on this critical matter of illicit trade. I know the interest is on KEBS, and we shall get to that shortly, but I just had a few remarks as well. And as has been mentioned, the Bureau of Standards is parastatal under the Department of Industrialization. And one of our functions within the executive order is promotion of standards and quality, and the responsible agency is the Bureau of Standards. As has been mentioned by Dr. Kipto, this issue of illicit trade has been in the news for a long time. In my previous life as the CEO of the Association of Manufacturers, it was one of the things we dealt with for a very long time. And there's been lots of efforts and work, including a legislation by this parliament in 2008 on counterfeit. But suddenly within the last month, there has been heightened awareness and reportage, which in our view is attributed to this enhanced enforcement of laws and regulations dealing with illicit trade as directed by the President at the 8th Presidential Roundtable. And that effort, as has been mentioned, is led by the Deputy Head of the Public Service, who is leading all enforcement agencies in this regard. The details on what illicit trade is has been mentioned by Dr. Kipto, so I will not revisit that. But the next point I was going to make was that these contraband goods, as we call them, which means that they are goods in the market illegally, whether they are counterfeit, whether they are substandard, whether they are dumped, or whether they are undervalued. Some of them are goods that are imported into the country, but actually a large percentage of these goods are made in the country. And when they are put into the distribution networks, they do not comply with these regulations. We have several agencies, and I think it's important. The Bureau of Standards will obviously say its bit, but there are several agencies that are responsible for ensuring that goods and services in the market, whether imported or produced locally. Mr. Chairman, I hope somebody can
give you water.
No, this is not. Can give us water. The room is a little bit cold, or hot. There are many agencies who are responsible for ensuring that goods in the market, whether imported or produced locally, comply with applicable laws and regulations. These include the Kenya Police, the Kenya Revenue Authority, where they must confirm that due taxes have been collected, the Bureau of Standards, who must confirm quality, the Counterfeit Agency, which must confirm IPR protection, weights and measures, the Copyright Board, KEBS, the Plant Health Inspectorate, Pharmacy and Poisons Board when it comes to regulations of medicaments and pharmaceuticals, and Public Health Department. In the context of creative work, we also include the Copyright Board, which must comply or must support the protection of creators of their work and to make sure that they enjoy the commercial gain from creative work. All these agencies have the responsibility of executing their mandate individually. But over time, as Dr. Kipto has mentioned, it has been appreciated that in order to execute their mandates effectively, they need to collaborate. So following that presidential directive in May 2018, we have seen, in addition to their normal activities, all the agencies have been collaborating in the execution of their mandate, and they have mounted joint operations in multiple teams and in multiple locations around the country. The choice of location to mount operations has been informed by risk profiles produced by agencies and intelligence sharing. These include airports, ports, borders, and within towns, and sometimes even within not just large towns, but even smaller towns. The teams are focused on 100% verification of containers in the ports of entry in profiled ports. They have mounted roadblocks in all border points and basically roads around the borders and in entry points, and they have engaged in sting operations in several towns. All the illicit activities that have been mentioned above have been targeted, as well as violation of immigration status. To date, there have been more than 350 operations around the country, and the products identified to be contraband range from alcohol, water, roofing tiles, electronics, used underwear, sugar, gas, cables, cigarettes, medicaments, edible oil, paint, tires, canned milk powder, spares, sportswear, ivory, plastic mats, narcotics, household items, and cosmetics, among many others. The full report of the operations over the last 4 weeks and the heightened surveillance is being compiled and will be released by the Deputy Head of Public Service once he has all the report compiled, at least from our conversation this morning. This operation has revealed that the country has a serious problem with illicit goods, and this compromises the health of Kenyans, it loses the country revenue, and denies the market to our manufacturers. Some of you might have seen the Deputy Head, I think on Monday this week, at ICD alone, when they were reviewing the goods that have been seized at ICD, and the value of those goods, as was released on Monday, totaled more than 1.7 billion. But that is just in one location. So all we're really saying is that this challenge with illicit goods is something that is of national importance, and we're very glad that the President has directed his efforts at this, and these efforts are bearing fruit. From the reports we are receiving and are continuing to receive, the agencies are continuing to collaborate, but all the agencies are also mounting their additional surveillance, and members of the public have been very, very helpful in this regard and directing the agencies towards scenes where they suspect there is illicit goods. So we appreciate that that is picking up national attention. But I think there's a lot more that we're learning out of it, and we shall be able to add in our reports to yourselves on additional measures that can be undertaken to ensure that this effort is sustained beyond this 1 month, and that we actually have a coherent and an active multi-agency work operating as indicated by my brother PS. Let me now invite the Bureau of Standards.
I would do it.
Oh, okay.
I would do it. Thank you for the presentation. You have given that background, which is very, very important. I want to just pose a very simple question. What do you do at KEBS? What's the work of KEBS? Maybe you can, that is an open check for you to say, who are you?
As KEBS.
As KEBS. I'm now directing that question to KEBS.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
it's an open check that we are giving you.
Thank you. Thank you, and Honorable Chairman and members of this committee. I really appreciate that. And in the past, when given open checks, I haven't actually misused those kind of opportunities. I have remained very, very faithful to my integrity. Honorable Chairman, if you allow me, can I distribute some reports to help this particular discussion?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Give to your other clerk, yeah. But you can also proceed.
One.
Proceed.
Chairman, I want to do this in about 3 parts. I want to take this opportunity to take you through very briefly about the KEBS mandate, and then I will take you through the measures that we have put in place to mitigate this issue of illicit trade, and specifically substandard goods. KEBS has been in existence for about 44 years now, Honorable Chairman, having been incorporated under the Standards Act Cap 496 of the laws of Kenya. We've got very specific mandates. The first one, if I summarize them, the first one is to develop standards, to harmonize those standards within the East African community. So far, Honorable Chairman, we have developed and harmonized in excess of 9,000 standards in this country. In terms of harmonization, it's 1,300, which means 1,300 standards have been harmonized across East Africa. Products manufactured to those standards trade very freely. The second mandate for KEBS is to provide testing and metrology services to the country, and that's the reason why we have some of the best laboratories in this country in terms of personnel and people. The third is to provide quality assurance and inspection services to the Kenyan people, quality assurance for locally manufactured products, and inspection for imported products. We've gone further, Honorable Chairman, realizing that when you are developing standards, you are doing quality assurance and inspection, you also need to police this in the market, and we have now a fully fledged department of market surveillance.